Saturday, 5:30 p.m. at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea look to make it 3 wins in 3 games when we take on Preston North End in the FA Cup. I've missed the FA Cup, haven't you?
I have. I've really missed it. I tell you what, we know so much about Preston. We watch them every week.
Oh, great side.
Do you know what? They're our
Great
second
side.
team, actually. They're our second team. You know, big squads. They're doing really well in the Championship-ish.
Yeah.
14th.
Who played for Preston on loan? Very famous player.
Tell me. I don't know.
David Beckham. He went Preston on loan.
How did you pull that up? Have you been watching the documentary?
Mate, I just remember he went to Preston on loan. Preston. Do I know anything about Preston? We're 14th in the Championship at the minute. 1 win in 5, which doesn't bode that well for them, does it?
Probably turn us over.
Yeah. We're still yet to win 3 games on the bounce this season, aren't we?
We are. So hopefully this will be the one. I mean, come on. If you
It's
look at the
gotta be the one,
fixtures,
innit? It's
if you look at the
one.
fixtures, you've got to do these, please.
Yeah. Be good to have a little cup run because I think, I'm not going to underplay at all. And people, sorry, we've just got straight into it. I haven't even introed it. You are watching the Joey Knight podcast. If you're a watcher of the channel, you're obviously a big fan of Josh, who is in with me today. And I want you to show your appreciation for Josh coming in to record this episode with me by hitting the link in the description. It's going to take you to his YouTube channel. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hit that subscribe button on Josh's YouTube channel. Anyway, getting back to it, Preston.
Does the FA Cup mean as much this year, mate? Considering we are in that semi-final.
Yeah.
Of the Carabao Cup.
Yeah. Imagine if Chelsea done a domestic double. Imagine how many pelters we've had, how awful we've been, how everyone's been sticking the knives in. Imagine we just went and won the League Cup and the FA Cup.
It'd be lovely.
Mate, it'd be our most successful season since the Champions League win.
Who needs to qualify to Europe through the top 6 or the top 7? Who needs it?
There is a slight problem though, isn't there? We've still got to get past Borough and we have got a manager that so far has never won a cup in England.
And we also have to beat Liverpool, who look very, very, very good.
Well, listen, Fulham gave Liverpool a good game. We watched Liverpool the other day against Newcastle. They got the win. They looked up for it, but they weren't convincing. And for the cup tie when they play Fulham, they're not going to have Salah either. You'd fancy Liverpool because it's over 2 legs, but don't write off the chance that we end up facing Fulham in the final. I am writing off the chance that Borough beat us.
I was going to say, it could be a Borough-Fulham final, yeah.
Oh, could you imagine?
Yeah.
That'd be awful.
Yeah.
Weirdest cup final while we're just talking about it. Do you want it? Of recent times?
It was the Wigan one. Are you surely going to say that?
Wigan Man City, though. You expect Man City to be in the
Go on
final.
then.
Swansea against Bradford. Wayne Routledge had a good game. Nathan Dyer, used to love Nathan Dyer.
Didn't they go down that year? Or was that Wigan?
No, Wigan went down the year they won it.
There you go. But what a mad story that is.
I'd give you another weird cup final. Well, again, though, one team fancied to be in there. Man United, remember they played Millwall in the cup final. And that Millwall side had Dennis Wise in. Tim Cahill. Had a couple of good players, man. Gone well off topic. Right. Preston North End. Are we gonna sort of pretend we know anything about them, or are we just gonna say they're 14th place in the Championship and we should be beating them?
I think we just leave it at that, yeah. We know that they're fairly weak in terms of Championship teams. Probably one of the ideal teams to play in the Championship, if you're being honest with you. And if you're looking at it in terms of a third round tie, to get a home third round tie in the FA Cup, then that's kind of your dream.
We're at Blackburn
really.
in the Championship. They got to be higher than 14th, haven't they? Blackburn
must
in
be
the
up there,
Championship.
yeah,
Because
they
obviously I was at that match against Blackburn. Blackburn were all right, you know. Blackburn weren't that bad. You know.
Yeah, they're a decent team.
And if you are Preston, I mean, unless you're completely naive, you come to Stamford Bridge, you know it's one leg, you play a low block, and you fucking hope for penalties.
They've got nothing to lose, though. I hate games like this in a weird way, though. And this is, again, no disrespect to Preston at all, because, you know, they're in the Championship for a reason. They're going to give us a very good game. I hate moments like this. And the one that I think back to is like when we did play Bradford, and we've played a lot lower ranked sides than Preston, and struggled in the past, even with our elite, you know, Jose Mourinho level teams. You know?
I'll give you one.
Go on.
Luton.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Lukaku couldn't get a goal for love nor money at the time, and he ended up, I think, scoring the winner. Werner got, I think we beat them 3-2 or something, and that was obviously, I think they were like right down there in the Championship at the time. It's only a couple of seasons ago, to be honest.
We need to switch on, mate. And this is the thing, like, I think we've got pelters for this before, where we've talked up teams that are even in the bottom of the Prem and gone, do you know what, we should be beating them because quality of the squad isn't good enough. And do you know what, in the Premier League especially, and the Championship is also like this actually, a team can come in and they can bosh you physically, and that's probably our biggest weakness. Luton did it where they bombed in and they tried to put in crosses and free kicks and throw-ins and everything they could lay into us, and that's where they got their goals in the last minutes when we're tired, and that could absolutely happen against Preston. So let's be no bones about it, we're going to have to switch on.
Of course. But if we can match them for physicality, if we can match them for hunger, and we can match them for organisation, which, easier said than done, but we should be able to do that. We've got so many more match winners than them. It's ridiculous. And when we compare ourselves to other Premier League sides, maybe you wouldn't say that about match winners, but come on, compared to them boys, we have got more match winners. But the key thing would be, how do we go with the lineup for this? I'm going to drop my my final lineup probably on the Friday. This should be going out Thursday. So I want your lineup. And I'm interested to see how you go with this, because I think we've both agreed at times that the Cup is going to be massively important for us when we're looking at our league position, and we're thinking, I refuse to admit defeat just yet in terms of being able to qualify for Europa League or something like that, because the teams that are up there this season are all in European competition, barring Spurs. Man United have now gone out, and Newcastle, but realistically, they've gone out for a reason, because they haven't been that good. The teams that are doing well, the only one is Spurs that aren't in there. Aston Villa will go deep. West Ham will probably go deep. Brighton might go deep, but they're a bit hit and miss this season. So they're the three teams that, well, not Villa, but Brighton and West Ham I'm looking at, and I'm thinking, mate, and if it gets a lot worse for Newcastle, we could get above you. So I don't want to rule us out of being able to qualify for Europa League or anything like that. But you know where I'm going with this. The Cups are so significant, because they might be our only chance this season at being able to really stick our chests out and celebrate something.
Yeah, they are. But then also, I'm thinking about it now in terms of squad management and resting players. And I was a bit torn with my team selection now about how much I do rest players. Because yes, we have a bit of a break now, and January's a bit of a lull time. And I would say the semi-final is a huge game, huge opportunity, and probably should be our starting 11 against Borough. So you go, we've had a lot of injuries. We're obviously not going to rush any of those back. So any of the people like Carney, other players that are sort of coming back, Chilwell, they're not going to be anywhere near this starting 11. So then you're going, how much can we actually rest? But we do need to rest players. There'll be other players that I talk about here that are starting week in, week out for us in the Premier League that you go, they need a break, urgently need a break. And so even though there is a bit of a gap coming up, I think you need to be cognizant of this game and how much we do rest some players. And so I've had to make some difficult decisions here about, do I want to win the game versus do I want to give some opportunities to other players to come in? So that's what I've done.
Let's have your starting 11 then.
So, interesting one that I heard on the Athletic Chelsea podcast the other day. They were talking about potentially giving Bettinelli a go in this game, which is a bit of a weird one. He hasn't played in at least a couple of years for us, so I don't get it. So for me,
why?
It's Petrovic.
Why would you give him a go?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Why?
He's not good
He's a
enough.
goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Doesn't need rotating.
Yeah.
He's never going to be in and around the first team. He would have to come on and be shades of Buffon or something for us to even give him a sniff at a Premier League appearance. So what's the point?
Just keep the momentum going. And also Petrovic needs that game time. He's obviously come in and had a run of games after the injury of Sanchez, but hasn't necessarily been able to have that sort of continuity for the rest of the season. And we do need to build some sort of connection between the defence. Like the defence at the moment, we're porous.
Am I going over the top to say Petrovic is now firmly in there ahead of Sanchez?
Think you are. I don't. For me, he's absolutely won his place now. Some of the saves that he was doing against Luton were absolutely ridiculous.
Do you think there's a match-going fan that would still favour Sanchez?
I don't
Not
think
people on Twitter, match-going fans.
No, but even people on Twitter didn't like Sanchez in the first place. We were getting pelters for even signing Sanchez. So, do you know what? I remember us on this podcast, we were saying a couple of months ago, Sanchez eventually is going to be a fantastic number 2. Maybe he's going to end up being a fantastic number 3. So, that's as simple as it is. Well, maybe we still go out in the market. I actually don't think we do now. And we were talking about transfers. I don't think goalkeeper now is one of my key areas to strengthen, because I think
really
he's
like
been very
Petrovic.
good.
And do you know what? I'll give you a little claim about Petrovic, and people think I'm mad. Petrovic is not as good with his feet as Sanchez is. Sanchez makes a lot of mistakes with his feet, and Petrovic doesn't make hardly any. So how have I come to that conclusion? When it goes right for Robert Sanchez. I believe Robert Sanchez can pick out a ball, can find someone on the wing a lot better than Petrovic can, yeah? I think his actual passing ability, when it goes right. But when it goes right, is the percentage of it happening so minor in comparison to the percentage of what Petrovic, the simple things going right, happening, that it makes Petrovic better. And the other thing as well is, like, Petrovic, I just don't have that fear factor with Petrovic. You know, when the ball goes, say for example, right, you know when if Nicholas Jackson gets put for on goal, you got that fear factor because you think, you're not going to score this. Same as with when the ball goes back to Sanchez, you got that fear factor. You might scuff this up. You might make a mess of this one. And with Petrovic, just don't have that.
No, it doesn't have that at all. And do you know what, mate? It was the Arsenal game for me that was the one where you sort of go, is Sanchez the one anymore? When he made that pass, it was intercepted by Rice, wasn't it? And he put in that goal from bloody miles out.
Yeah.
And Petrovic would never have done a hospital pass like that. And that's the difference.
Wouldn't have even tried it.
Yeah,
don't be a hero, mate.
Yeah, that's the difference for me. And do you know what, mate? I think we are harsh slightly on Petrovic's feet, actually, because he did a pass the other day in the Luton game where he looped it over and got it over to Colwell. And I thought, do you know what? I don't even know if Sanchez attempts that. Yeah. It was good. It was really good. So, mate, for me, it's easy. I think Petrovic is the number one now, and that's why I just keep him playing in this game.
Let's have your backline.
So, this was an interesting one because, do you know what, mate? I was thinking about putting Gilchrist in this.
Do you know what? I was quite curious to see whether you did.
I was really thinking about it. So I was thinking, do you put Gilchrist on the right, Gusto on the left? And I would really like to see it, but I just think Poch is going to be a little bit cautious in this game. So I'm going to put Gusto on the right. I'm going to keep Colwell on the left. And then I'm going to rest Thiago Silva. This is a good opportunity to rest him. And so for me, you just go Disasi and Badiashile. You know, to be honest with you, that's kind of our settled back four anyway. So for me, that's the back four you go with. And let's give Thiago a bit of a break. This is an important game, but not, the most important game for us.
And what it also might be, because of the standard of Preston, no offence to Preston, and hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me in the arse, but is a very physical game. And then when you're looking at Thiago Silva, maybe an unnecessary physical game in terms of we're pretty reliant on him in the bigger games. And you know, without Thiago Silva, we don't get 3 points against Luton in that match. I'm very firm on that. So I think that, resting him is very, very sensible. We are hampered with injuries and whatnot, so we probably can't be as creative even if we wanted to be with this starting 11. But let's have your midfield then.
So you say that, but then Caicedo, for me, he looks like he has been playing with a slight injury.
Right.
And he's been in and out of the team for a while. So for me, I am going to rest Caicedo in this game. And bearing in mind that he is back and he was back on the bench and he came on against Luton, I would go for Enzo in this game and start him in the same position as Caicedo. It completely changes the way you play. But I think, for me, Caicedo is so important to our overall game and our pressing and our ability to win the ball back, and even some of his low passing, back against goal, passing in between the defenders and also passing forward. Just so good. Probably the most key player for me in our midfield. And I'd say that even over Gallagher at points this season. So for me, I just think you do rest him. So I'm going to go Enzo, and then next to him, we'll keep Gallagher going, and he'll be captain again, and he'll use that sort of that pace and that ability that he has to get up and down the pitch. I honestly think Gallagher could play every game in the season and be absolutely fine. I
think Gallagher gets on the score sheet in this one. It's been quite long overdue, really. It's not his goal scoring numbers, which obviously is 0 at the minute, 4 assists he's got. It's not reflective, is it, of how good he is, because he is good and he is a goal threat. And last season, he wasn't performing to anywhere near the standard he is this season, but he was chipping in with more goals. So wouldn't be surprised if we see him get on the score sheet in this one.
Yeah, I can see that as well. I do think he'll start in the deeper role. I think Gallagher will almost do the Caicedo role, and then Enzo will be the sort of the free-flowing midfielder. So it'd be interesting to see how they go. But I just think it'll be them. And then I was thinking, like, do you drop another sort of young player in there, like a Castledine or one of those players? And it's just, they haven't played enough football. And we haven't got Ugo Chukwu. Lavia is still going to be injured. So I would love to, this is a game where I would love to have seen Ugo Chukwu play. And maybe even an Ugo Chukwu Lavia pivot to give these boys a rest, but they're not fit.
Do you know what I'm really excited for? And a few people, not including yourself, but a few people are sleeping on this. Carney's going to be big for us, I think. I've just got a feeling Carney Chukwuemeka is going to be real important for us.
I agree. I really love him as well. I do think he's more of like a 10.
Do you know what I worry about, though?
What?
Like, we were hearing that he could have come back like 2 months ago from injury, but then we haven't heard about a setback. It's just like, the old continuing the rehabilitation program. And it's like, what's happening with him?
It was a bad injury, though. I think the thing is, right, is when you have like joint issues and joint problems, you've got to be really careful of like other injuries around it. So
He
you've
was
got
having
to
a
be careful
blinder
of,
in that game.
I know. It's gutting. And that's what is so gutting about that moment. He was playing so well. But you've got to be careful of the hamstrings, the calves, all of those other areas, even the lower back. Like there's so many things you've got to be careful of. And so that's why they've been very worried.
I strongly suspect he would have featured a lot under Pochettino.
I think he would. I think he would as well.
Who are you, speaking of 10s, who are you going for there?
So for me, I changed my mind, mate, in the last few minutes before we started recording today. But I'm going to go with Sterling, I think, on the right-hand side.
Yep.
I think he hasn't played in a while, and it'll be good to see him get some minutes. And I think having a bit of confidence in him destroying a team might be good. So, again, wishful thinking, but let's
be a bit of a not an issue, but questions raised if he didn't play, seeing as he hasn't been starting.
It would do. Do you know what? There's a school of thought to say maybe play Madueke and keep the form going that he's got. But then also, like, for me, mate, he's first team now. And so therefore he's one of those players you can rest. And actually, I was thinking about it from the perspective of Borough. Who do I want to see play against Borough? And I want to see Madueke playing against Borough.
Yeah.
Over Sterling. So I'm going to say Sterling. Then I'm going to go Palmer in the 10. I think we don't see him there often enough. And I really would like to see him there supporting the striker, which I'll leave for a second.
I was very strong on Palmer's best position being 10. Palmer's a 10. He needs to be a 10. And then recently I'm like, don't know whether I'm changing my stance on that. Not changing, but like, he's very good on the right wing.
He is very good. But then also, like, we've got so many wingers that bring something different in their pace. And I want to see a few more wingers playing in their natural sides, like being able to sort of cut it, well, not cut in, but as in go round someone and whip a ball in. That's why I like Sterling on the right. And Sterling is very good at that. He does love to cut in from the left, but he's very good on the right still. So I just think Palmer's got that ability to arrive at the end of the box, getting involved and score goals, and also dribble around goalies like we saw against Luton. And so actually being central sometimes enables you to do that slightly easier. And with my striker, maybe rotating in between the two.
Before we get to your striker, who are you going for on the left wing then?
My boy, my star boy.
Gotta be.
The man, Mykhailo Mudryk. Let's get him back in playing. He hasn't been playing for a while, so I want to see him play.
I'd love him, like, even against Preston, lower sort of level opposition. I'd love him to have a match where he just absolutely tears it up for 90 minutes. Like, mate, do you know what? Like, there was a point when I was like, I think Mudryk's a flop. Then there was a point when I was like, is he just really fast? Now there's a point where I'm like, do you know what? I actually do think he's really good. But I'm not having it argued against. He still does go missing, as a lot of players in the Chelsea teams do, for like half hour of a game, 25 minutes, half hour of a game where he doesn't really do anything. I'd love to see him put in a Sterling against Man City-esque performance where just literally for every minute he's on the pitch, he's a constant threat, making, creating, assisting, providing, scoring. It'd be good, wouldn't it?
I think if he was allowed the amount of freedom that Sterling gets in terms of the tracking back, then you might see that from Mudryk. Because what you got to remember about him is he's going backwards and forwards, he's supporting his defenders, and Madueke was doing that the other day as well. Yeah. And so there are going to be moments in the game where they are quieter because, quite frankly, they're gassed because they're up and down and they're giving support to all their teammates around them. And that's what I really am desperate to see from Chelsea going forward, is a more of a team cohesion perspective where the players all support each other. They're working backwards and forwards. Like Gusto is bombing on and helping his winger, but then also, Madueke comes back and supports Gusto. Like, you've got to see that play. And that's what I love about Mudryk. And also the other thing I'd say is I just think it's age. Like, I just think it's age and experience with him. And eventually he'll, be able to sort of have moments where he absolutely dominates games. Now, if Mudryk was 28, I'd be saying to you, he's not good enough because he doesn't dominate games. But the age profile it changes it. It really, really does. So I'm excited to see him play.
Who are you going for as the number 9 in this match?
So originally I had Broja.
Right.
And I thought this is a good opportunity for him to get some minutes. I've just been not that excited by him. And so let's use this game as an opportunity to try this false 9 system out. Let's put Christopher Nkunku up there and have this rotation. Use Cole Palmer to rotate in between them. And bearing in mind, mate, they're probably going to end up playing with a back 4 with a 5 in midfield, or a 5 and a 4. And so you're going to need bodies up there, and you're going to need to press them really, really high and disrupt them and break up those passes so that we can actually get something, because they're going to sit, as you say, in a low block all game, and we're going to have to go and beat them and break them down.
We have sort of seen Christopher Nkunku there, although he hasn't started there on the team sheet and whatnot. I was at a Newcastle game. When he came on, he was sort of left wing, sort of a 10, floating about, right? He had a bit more of a free role. Obviously, in the game against Crystal Palace, he was playing off the back of Jackson, but in the game he got the goal when he came on against Wolves, he was sort of in that number 9 position, wasn't he? So yeah.
He's going to end up playing more and more there, to be honest with you, mate. Like, those forward positions are going to rotate. That's the only way that we can do it, unless we get someone that is the sort of dominant quality of a Victor Osimhen. That, you know, they're all good enough to sort of pop up in areas, and also with Cole Palmer's ability in finishing and conversion, you want Cole Palmer in those positions as well. So that, mate, they're all going to rotate.
Do you know what, right? Like, I'm sort of thinking about that as we're having that conversation. I'll tell you what, mate. If we don't see a team sheet with Nkunku in the number 9 for this game, I'm going to seriously, I already do sometimes, but I'm going to seriously be questioning Pochettino's lineups, because Jackson's off to the African Cup of Nations. Broa is just not doing it so far. And I think, like, if you was a manager and you said, right, okay, you got a free hit to try it, all right, you might pick Wrexham, for example, but if I offer you Preston, you'll take it. You don't want to be trying this at the end of the month against Liverpool. Try it against Preston. It's got to be this match, hasn't it?
Yeah, it does. The only reason why you would play Broja in this match is because you're worried about the set piece defending. Like, you want to play a big man that can come back and defend, because, mate, we are so weak and small in the defensive positions in terms of defending those free kicks, and Luton absolutely smashed us from that perspective. And I'm sure Preston will try and do the same. So that's the only reason that I would forgive Pochettino for playing him in this role. I have to say as well, the only other thing I'm thinking of is, does he see how good Broja is in this game? Because he keeps saying, I want to see how good he is to see if we are going to transfer him in and out. Yeah. Like, that's the only reason why I could see it. But I think the board have made up their mind about Broja. I really do. I think.
Tell you what, the board wouldn't mind though. Few extra zeros on the end of whatever someone gives us. So
yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Well, it won't be extra zeros, will it? But be a few more digits. I am going to finish off by asking you for a score prediction on this game.
Tough. Do you know what? We get a lot of pelters about being bullish, but to be honest with you, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go 4-1.
We should go bullish. I'm going to go 4-0. But I wouldn't be surprised that, like, you clip this up, it happens. I wouldn't be surprised at a 4-2 either, to be honest. No, Chelsea at the moment.
I could see it, yeah.
I remember Jose's first season, we played Scunthorpe in the Cup, and they give us some trouble. They did. So I'll go 4-0. People, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of that team sheet? As I say, I'm going to be dropping my team sheet tomorrow on my YouTube channel, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. What do you think of Josh's team sheet? What do you think the score will be? Also, I've asked already, but please make sure, just in case you were too carried away in the video and you haven't done it, subscribe to Josh's channel. It is linked in the description. Also, if you want to see me box, or if you don't like my content and you're quite eager to see me get punched in the face, January the 20th in Leeds, I'm fighting on Misfits. I'm going to put the link for tickets in the description to this video, so you can click on that, buy tickets if you want to come. I'm on first of the night. I'll be out to have a beer with everyone after the fight. And also, if you're wondering where this podcast, where this video is brought to you from, it is Podcast Room in Barnes. That is where I record all of my content. A really, really good, cheap, affordable place, good friendly staff to record your podcast. So their website is linked in the description. Check them out if you're in the local area and you want to set up like this for your next podcast. People, thank you for sticking around. Hit the like button if you haven't done already. I will see you all in the next one.